Democrats are working out the details of the $3.5 trillion spending bill as a government shutdown looms. A Senate vote on the debt ceiling set for Monday. For more on this, we're joined by Republican Congressman from Texas and member of the House Appropriations Committee, Tony Gonzales. Congressman, thank you for taking time. I want to get to Del Rio, your backyard. But first, let's talk just about the infrastructure vote happening on Monday. Obviously, the larger behemoth $3.5 trillion spending bill. Where are Republicans? What is going to happen on Monday?
Yeah, I think the spending is absolutely out of control. We're talking about $1 trillion for infrastructure package, and then another $3.5 trillion for reconciliation. Moderate Democrats would love to pass the infrastructure package. That would make them happy. Progressive Democrats would love to pass the reconciliation package. That would make them happy. Everyone would be happy if both passed, other than the American people. The price of gas is going up, the price of eggs, the price of basic necessities is through the roof. At the end of the day, the spending is completely out of control, and we have to stop somewhere, because eventually the bill becomes due, and it's going to come due in the form of higher taxes for everyone.
Your colleague, Congressman Gottheimer, was pretty optimistic talking to Jackie that ultimately it was going to work out in the end. How do you see it? Are you as optimistic?
I think it's a long way to go. Look, Josh Gottheimer does a lot of good work in Congress, and I appreciate his bipartisan approach to things. But at the end of the day, the sheer amount, the fact that the infrastructure bill is essentially attached to the reconciliation bill is just too much money for many of us to go alongside with. I wish this infrastructure package would have went a different way, because Republicans are absolutely for infrastructure. We do need roads, we do need bridges, we do need land ports and seaports.
Congressman, one thing we're watching in all of this, because there's a lot of moving parts, is of course the need to raise the debt ceiling. Where are you? Would you support doing that?
Look, the Democrats own the House, they own the Senate, and they own the White House. It's their job to keep the government open. And if they don't keep the government open, if they don't successfully keep the government open, then that's on them. They want to take all the credit for spending all this money. Well, they need to learn how to govern as well. I will tell you, when it's our turn to lead, when the Republicans lead the House, after next cycle, we will make sure that we put the American people, the American public first, unlike what the Democrats have done.
Congressman, let's turn now to Del Rio and the border crisis that played out right there. Your district, a part of what we were watching. You went down. This, of course, all started last Saturday. We on this show were watching it, covering it with Bill Maloogian there. And then you went down there and were a part of it. And then, of course, the week ends with the President of the United States saying about some of those Border Patrol agents, he promises, quote, those people will pay. Those agents may be your constituents. What do you say?
I'm ready to go to war with Joe Biden over how he's vilified the Border Patrol. Look, they have done an amazing job in a very difficult environment. Over the past 2 weeks, over 30,000 illegal aliens have attempted to cross in Del Rio. Over the course of the year, over 250,000. These numbers are astronomical, and the way that the Border Patrol has come, and the fact that they were able to clear out that bridge in a week with over 15,000 people is unbelievable. They're absolutely saving lives every single day, and they need to be rewarded. They need to be encouraged. They need to be, their pay needs to be increased. They need to be be given the accolades that they deserve, not be villainized by the same administration that is holding them down, essentially.
Congressman, is this administration being honest about whether or not they're releasing these migrants or removing them?
That's a good point. Out of these 15,000 migrants that were under there, about 2,000 got sent back to Haiti. That means 13,000 were processed and released into the United States to get a court date later on. That is a problem. As long as that continues, as long as this administration fails to uphold the law, there's going to be other issues. Also, Border Patrol, right now, they're getting attacked over racial issues and all these other things. You got Al Green and Al Sharpton and Black Lives Matter coming down to Del Rio and protesting. I want to remind this administration, over 50% of Border Patrol agents are Hispanic. And it's clear that Joe Biden has abandoned Hispanics, especially on the border. And you're seeing that now as he attacks Border Patrol.
Tell me, Congressman, for the residents that live and reside in Del Rio, they were there for years before this happened. What has been the impact on a community like yours?
It's absolutely a horrible event. I mean, it's as if a hurricane has hit. Look, immigration is not a new topic for any of us that live or work along the border, but we've never seen it like it is now. I mean, it is literally as bad as people have ever seen it, regardless of party. I mean, the police is just complete chaos. You've got high-speed chases. You've got just a sheer number of folks coming through these small towns. You know, another aspect of it is resources. A lot of the NGOs that are helping, that would otherwise help the local government or the local cities, are now focused solely on the migrant situation. Our hospitals are filled to capacity. Oftentimes, local residents can't even be seen at the hospital because they're at capacity. It has caused pure chaos.
Congressman,
and it's solely due to Joe Biden's failed policy decisions.
We just have a few seconds as our viewers were looking there from our live drone footage of Del Rio and the crossing there, the Rio Grande. The president continues to refuse to visit the border. A missed opportunity?
Absolutely. The president needs to immediately visit the southern border, along with the vice president. Bring her along as well. And you know what? While you're at it, bring Nancy Pelosi as well. All three of them should come down to the border and see it firsthand before they start passing judgment on some of these issues.
Congressman Tony Gonzales, thank you for taking time, sir. Have a great Saturday.